Tim going on to the parish council officially. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. The chair will invite members of the public to speak or ask questions on any matter in respect of business on the agenda. Please note questions cannot be asked in respect of confidential items. Each member of the public may speak for only 2 minutes. Do we have any members of the public? No, thank you. To receive reports and ask for the county councillor, Carl Maynard, who's absent, and Rother District councillors concerning county matters and Rother District council matters. I'll just give the benefit of the doubt to Dawn Went, whether that's Mr Maynard coming in.
I think that might be a ping-pong player.
Okay, Rother councillors?
Yeah, you go, Andrew.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Yes, on Sunday, in my capacity as chair of Rother District Council, I attended the opening of a new pavilion, sports pavilion at Battle, and that was very interesting. You know, great achievement by the local people and the town council and so on. But I noticed that it took them 10 years to get there from start to finish. So if we think about projects, well, there would be good people to talk to, but also it's a long haul.
So the Icklesham Cricket Club refurbishment.
Yes.
That was
It takes a long time. I think everyone should know by now that we'll be having food waste collections, weekly food waste collections, as from this spring. I know in Hastings the necessary bins have already been delivered and leaflets gone out, and that will happen for us very soon, I hope. And it will be fully publicised. This is a government initiative. It's not something that Rother has any choice about, and I believe that it reduces carbon dioxide emissions. It reduces the amount of waste going to incineration. It will instead be composted and used productively. But that, as I said, it's not a Rother initiative. It's a government initiative, and all councils around the country are doing this.
Do we know now they'll be collected? Will it be like a small extra?
Yes, there will be a small caddy to go in your kitchen, if that's where you choose to keep your food waste, and a larger one which you would keep outside and put out for the collectors weekly. It's about that sort of, you know,
yes.
It's not huge. Though food waste is said to be a very high proportion of the non-recyclable waste which people put out, a surprisingly high amount. I mean, I can toss mine anyway, and I expect a lot of us do in Fairlight. But in the towns, it really does go to incineration. A reminder again that the local plan is going out for consultation. That's for planning purposes. It includes site allocations. And this is everybody's big chance to make a contribution. If you don't say it now, forever hold your peace. That's the message. And that will run for about, about 6 weeks. Is it 6 or 8 weeks? That will be running for.
I think it's about 8 weeks.
8
but
weeks.
There's only one allocated site
In Fairlight.
there that's been proposed. So I think that's widely known.
And that's open for comment now.
It will be within days, I think. It's very, very soon that starts.
Okay.
I think is that Holly that sent out the
Holly Harris.
Yeah, I have got it. I've got it on my February agenda already.
She sent out advance copies to the parishes so the parish councils would have a good chance to make their comments and to give it local publicity if the parish council decides to do that. The opportunity is there.
Okay.
The government itself is consulting on a new national planning policy framework document, which is the higher level national policy document, and I haven't got to grips with it yet, but it is a major revision. It's not a tinkering, it's a substantial rethink and a new approach, and that is out for consultation now until the 10th of March. and it might well be worth having a look at that. It's available online.
Would you be able to forward us the link?
Yes, certainly. And this isn't a parish council thing, but I think that Southern Water have a meeting here in this hall on Thursday.
Yes.
Thursday at
Yes.
6 o'clock.
Yes.
Yes. Just a reminder about that.
Yeah. It just went out tonight, so it should be out tonight on the FRA, and it's gone out on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. And I think everybody knows there was a big spillage of plastic beads from Eastbourne which washed up on the beach all the way along to Camber. There's been a massive clean-up operation. Rother is the foreshore authority, so it's been under the supervision of Rother. But we're very grateful to volunteers, Southern Water themselves, of course, but especially to volunteers, include especially Strandliners, an organisation which deals with plastic pollution, and Andy Dinsdale, who is in charge of that, is in fact a resident of Fairlight. So I think we all thank Andy for what he and his volunteers have done. The parish, I think, has been successful in getting community infrastructure levy money towards the new car park and foul drain on Woodfield. I was pleased to see that. And the community infrastructure levy panel meets again next week. It meets in private, but its minutes will be published on the website. As chair of the council, I'm a member of that, and there is an item affecting Fairlight on the agenda. Yes. Oh yes. One last thing. Any new resident wanting a garden waste bin, if they apply before the 28th of February, they get it half price as a special introductory offer. So I'm really talking to the camera over there.
I'll probably have it half price.
Well, if you're a new resident, yes, you can. But it's for new customers to encourage people to sign up. And
It's not hiding a rise for everybody else, is it?
well, I don't think it is this time. Anyway, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, nothing else to add.
Nothing? No. Okay, thanks very much. Right, 4, to record apologies for absence. We have 3 absences, don't we?
Councillor Miller, Councillor Cook and Councillor Beecham.
Yeah, all have sent in their reasons which have been accepted. To consider any requests and approval of reasons for absence, if any, will consider them and approve them. 5, code of conduct and disclosure of interest. To receive any disclosures by members of personal prejudiced interest in matters on the agenda, members are reminded A, to repeat their declaration immediately prior to the commencement of B, the item in question, and B, complete the declaration interest form. Has anyone got any? Yeah.
Agenda item 10, which is the planning matter affecting Wakelands Farm. I'm a member of Rother's Planning Committee and would propose to leave the room for that.
Okay.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Item 24 for me, tennis club lease.
Okay.
Secretary of tennis club.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a signature on the lease, so.
I don't think there's a decision to be made on this, so you can sit in and if the time comes that we have to dismiss you, don't we?
Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah, where is it again? Same for me, the activate lease in the closed session. Right, if everyone's agree, I'll just revert back and ask District Councillor Maynard.
County, I hope,
County.
and district, but not for here.
For any reports you may wish to.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Apologies for being late. It was temporary traffic lights on the ridge. I won't speculate as to what it was, but
Not doing what half 20.
could have been, couldn't it? So we'll start off with the boogeyman. So we'll start off with potholes. I spoke to the steward on Monday morning. So between Friday and Monday, within the area he covers, you had 130 new cases over the weekend. So it gives you an idea of the level of the problem. What I'm keen to obviously push and am doing is to make sure that where there are category 1 or category 2 potholes, that they are done within the timescale, because whilst this contractor is definitely performing better to the previous contractor, we understand quite clearly that there is a huge problem out there, and despite additional investment that I've previously spoken to you about over the years, we're still a long way behind where it should be. There has been much talk of the additional government funding, but for this year, in actual fact, what we expected to what we got, it actually amounted to an increase of 700,000. Not the figure that has been bandied around, because we were expecting 21 million, we got 21.7. So that's where we are. I mean, quite clearly, it's one of the many areas within local government that there needs to be massive additional investment. And if you think it's just a county problem, it doesn't matter where you go. They're at various levels, and the government released that document, which was released Friday before last, where the county is considered amber, which is very similar to its neighbours. But we all know that the condition of the roads is very poor, and the challenges around that, just to give it some context, we would all like, and I speak across the political divide, we would all like to put massive amount of additional investment in roads, even if it meant borrowing, if we could. The reality is we're coming up to county budget. We've got £70 million black hole because of the additional costs on adult social care and looked after children's services. That 70 million will have to be plugged almost certainly by a government special grant, which we are one of many upper tier authorities, and indeed I suspect there are some lower tier districts and boroughs also asking for the additional funding, but we'll be one of many applying for that. If we get it, there are very specific constraints about how that should be spent. What you can't do is say, and this is very important to point this out, what you can't do, you can fill that budget gap, but what you can't do is say, well actually we'd like an extra 10 million for the roads. They won't do that, which to some people would seem very unfortunate, but we have a very, very competent officer team in terms of the financial officer. I won't call him his correct term, I'll put it in layman's terms so everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about, and that's not to be pompous or I just don't want anybody to misunderstand that we've got a very good officer team who have delivered balanced budgets with us year in, year out. But the challenges in adult social care in particular, and those in children's services, are really serious for the longer term. I have to say that we saw it, and I won't make a political comment, I'll just make a comment that puts the narrative in context. When Theresa May at the 2017 election campaign tried to put forward a different plan on how adult social care should be funded, that didn't go down well with the populace, as you'll well remember. Whether this government will face up to the issue, who knows? The reality is we all have different opinions on how adult social care should be funded. My own view, for what it's worth, although we need to make sure there is democratic accountability, my own view is quite a lot of it should sit with the NHS and not be funded through local taxation. That seems like common sense, because make no bones about it, as things stand, I think most upper tier authorities, with or without the local government reforms that are proposed, the reorganisation, with or without that, unless central government actually address the issue, most councils up and down this country will be bankrupt by 2030, and that's a very, very serious situation. Against that, the other thing to say, I guess, is that we have made significant spending cuts since 2010. Tens of millions of pounds has been taken out. The trouble is that you get to a point when to meet your statutory responsibilities, which I make no bones about it, that is where we are, to reach a situation whereby you're still carrying out statutory responsibilities, which is, as I say, is about where we are now. You can't make any further cuts because, for example, in adult social care, you've got the Care Act 2014, you've got to do what the Care Act says you will do. And that includes obviously looked after children as well. And I think I can be really magnanimous and say that all political parties, perhaps bar one, recognise that you can't just go into a council office and say, actually, I don't want us to do this, I don't want us to do that, because you will be in breach of what you have to do by statute. There is a lot of consensus across the political divide, whether you see it through the LGA or various political parties, where local government is concerned. As I say, perhaps with the exception of one particular party, there is broad consensus over the challenges that we're facing. And I would say that in terms of the county budget, there has been obviously the open door policy where we have obviously conversations between the various leaders of the political groups, which actually, if there is a golden nugget somewhere, clearly we want to harvest that. And there is I think it's fair to say, a far more collegiate working relationship across the council perhaps than there ever has been. So that's a good thing. Locally, all I can say is my email box, phones, etc. has just been, in terms of county, it's been overgrown hedges and potholes. So I've spoken to the steward obviously about a walk around, another walk around. I think, to be fair to him, he is absolutely working flat out at the moment, and as soon as we've got a window whereby he hasn't got to go out and race around all day every day looking into holes, and I don't say that flippantly, we'll have that walk around here. He's very keen to do that as well, and as I say, it's not to sort of report potholes, it's more, as we've said, as we've done before, is look at the ongoing issues that are here in Fairlight. But all I would say, and I know I've said it before, and I know people think, oh, that old chestnut, but yet again, I have three major Cat 1, Cat 2 potholes within the division that I reported last week, because despite the fact that a number of residents were complaining about the same pothole, nobody had reported it. So please do report them as soon as you see them. It's a good system, but we've just got to make sure that where they're Cat 1 or Cat 2, that they are filled in time. The problem we've got at the moment is that perennial problem whereby quite a lot of repairs are temporary, and sadly there are cases where I've seen a pothole repaired on Monday and it's been failing by Friday. And that's a significant challenge. You'd think technology would get us to a place where you could do a proper repair even when it was wet, but we need to certainly really focus in on what we do monitor, obviously what other counties are doing, but I think we've got to be really clear that we may have to look at more innovative ways of resolving the problem. In an ideal world, obviously, you would throw a significant sum of money at it, but obviously you've got to have the capacity within the contractor, if you did throw that extra money at it, to enable that work to be done as well. So that's the other consideration. A bit of good news I haven't reported before, there was a full inspection of our social care and health department, so that's relationship partners and what we do across the whole piece, and that came out as good, which was pretty much as expected, but that's the first inspection we've had for 15 years, so that is some good news. So despite financial challenges, we are still delivering, but obviously, and I'm well aware of it because I get my ear bent about this all the time, the significant challenge is obviously where everybody goes out of their front door every day and sees roads, footways, etc. in a poor state. As a side note, in terms of local government changes, we don't yet know whether the elections will be delayed, but we will hope to hear from government within the next few days as to know whether that is the case or not. And there are obviously different schools of thought within political groups across the piece as to whether that should be the case. All I would say, and again this is a personal view, is if you had elections this May, you would only have obviously that council, if you like, a caretaking for a year, and the cost of that election would be in excess of £1 million as well. and there is a possibility that whoever came in might throw the baby out of the bathwater. But the bigger consideration is, and the really strange thing that people aren't really paying a lot of attention to, is the fact that the government delayed the mayoral election, as far as I can see it, with no valid reason whatsoever. There's a very good reason why the respective authorities, upper tier authorities have asked and government have suggested, you know, it's a two-way street in terms of any further delay. That's to get the job of local government reorganisation done and done properly. We have lobbied to see if they will bring forward, because they pushed back the mayoral election to 2028, 2-year delay for no apparent reason. We've asked that they consider 2027 because it seems absolutely obvious, given the fact that, if you remember, the first police and crime commissioner election, there was a 14% turnout. And in order to get that mayoral turnout, and it's a very, very important role, I urge anybody who hasn't looked at it, I know it's perhaps sleepy reading for some, but the roles and responsibilities of an elected mayor are huge. And in order to make sure we get the turnout that we all want across the political divide, I think it's extremely important to make sure we get as high a turnout as possible for that election. And if we've got unitary elections in 27 for the new authority, it seems an absolute no-brainer to actually have mayoral elections on the same year. So we are lobbying hard for them to, I know it's another U-turn, and I don't say that flippantly, but it would be a really good idea if they brought it forward from 28 to 27, and we are lobbying to that effect. Thank you.
Okay, can I just ask 3 quick questions, please, Doug? Potholes I see being done around here, being done by Trench Line. Are they subcontracting to Alpha Beta?
They are a subcontractor
So
of Alpha Beta.
who oversees quality?
The steward.
Not just so it goes directly back to Stuart.
Yeah, yeah, and if you've got, again, and I urge anybody with this, but sometimes they will be temporary, but if you're concerned about the quality of any county council or even a utility repair, let us know, because historically, I have to say, if you drive around the lanes of this division across all the villages, you see time and time again it's the utility work that doesn't last. You know, and I'll give you an example. I know of a concrete road where obviously there are the metal reinforcing that goes in when you do a bit of resurfacing. They did a repair a couple of years ago whereby they neglected to put the reinforcing in. So what's going to happen with that concrete with heavy traffic? So I did alert them and they did come and do it again. But the reality is, it's not just the work that's done by the county, obviously, in terms of potholes. Its utility repairs are historically not always of a high standard. And please let me know, let county know through the website. But the steward, you know, he's got eyes and ears everywhere. Of course he has, that's his job. But if there's a particular one that you know about, particular repair, whether or not it's the county or a utility, or one of their subcontractors, because it's not always easy to, if pothole, yes, it would be county, but if it's utility repair, it's not always clear as to whether, it, you know, which, so they use a lot of different subcontractors.
Yeah, and just quickly, secondly, just to let people know, going back about 18 months, no, a year now, when we had the highway safety team with yourself and I, we walked around and they were supportive of putting in white lines back on Fairlight Road, and especially the junctions of Broadway and Farley Way, no road. I sent it up to Highways to get done, and they sent it back, standard reply, Stuart's been out inspected and doesn't consider it a safety issue. So I'm not too sure whether you'd like to take that up.
Yeah, left and right, don't sound those talking. Leave that one with me.
And it's a central reservation line as well in West
Yeah.
Lane and all the way up to Shepherd's Way, really. Okay, thank you. Anybody else got anything for Councillor Maynard?
Yes, Councillor Maynard-Carl. I agree with you absolutely that residents do have to report online if you find a pothole or your bin's missed or any of the other council things, to report online, because the reports go straight through to the contractors. It's all logged, there's no dispute that's been reported, and the job gets done that way. It's absolutely essential. But the problem I've had, though, is that it's really very difficult to report potholes online. I find I need to use my desktop computer. I fail almost every time on the iPhone,
Right.
and if that could be improved, I think I am.
Get that checked out. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not a computer whiz, but I don't know who actually oversees the IT side, because obviously that will be the contractor. But I do know that when you do report a pothole, it goes straight through to the iPad that the steward carries. So it literally is straight through to the steward, and the steward goes straight out, if he possibly can. I mean, we are at an unprecedented level once again with this weather that we've had in the last few weeks.
Exactly, the same thing with the dustbin as well. If you have a missed dustbin, it goes straight through to Biffa, and will be dealt with. You know, people. I've had the same experience. So many people complaining to me or complaining to each other about things, but not complaining to the person who could do something about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Question. Were there any reasons given for the mayoral election not taking place before the general unitary authority one?
No.
Because-
But then they said that we weren't
Because
ready.
it's strategic role.
We
If
weren't
they had a
ready.
year's
I
head
don't
start.
know who the
then
we
they
were
would be-
really was, but you can speculate,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to make a
Yeah.
political comment here, but you can speculate why.
I can say the Association of Local Councils aren't over happy with the situation.
Well, the other thing is, and I don't say this again, I don't say this flippantly, the various candidates for the various parties had spent tens of thousands of pounds. They were in full swing, and to say that you're not ready when they, you know, everybody was ready for May 26, it's just a nonsense.
I say it makes no sense that you're going to have a year when the unitary could be almost rolling out.
Well, the unitary and the mayor election having at the same time would make a huge amount of sense, because you've got two new, obviously new organisations to vote for, and you will get much greater turnout if you do them at the same time. And just so for clarification, as far as we are aware, it'll likely be because they don't want to do a boundary review this side of the first election, so it will likely be 2 per ward, per division, as you would currently know them under the current boundaries. If the one count, because they've finished the consultation on whether it's the 5 unitaries or the 1 county as we've suggested, and it'll be interesting to see what government say, but it's likely to be 2 members per division. So that will be, I think, how it play out 27. I think later, I mean, government made no secret that there will almost certainly be a boundary review straight away once the new authority is in place, so that then you will probably see a significantly smaller authority. But the problem is, you've just got to make sure, and I think everybody in this room would appreciate that you can phone your councillor, contact your councillor, and that role will be done well. If you have, for example, I think, which is likely longer term, sort of 60 councillors, you could end up with absolutely huge divisions. And you know, you want councillors, whatever political allegiance they are, to be able to do their job properly.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. So we're on to item 6, consider and approve signing by the chair of the minutes of the full council meeting of November, confidential sessions of October and September 2025. You should have all received copies from us, mate. Right, budget. I'll put it up on screen. You should all be sent a copy the audit. It was quite heavily discussed in the November meeting. There really is not a lot to say or anything other has changed from the proposed budget. Although we looked at each line in November, there's been some minor changes. This one now includes a salary total, which we couldn't do because of the confidential session in November. A small change on the caretaker's contract and the grass cutting confirmed because we voted in for 6 cuts a year. And where we always used to have an Xmas tree light competition, we've now put a little bit of increase in there so we can afford a village tree. The village tree seems to go down quite well, but I think we need bigger and better next year and possibly in a different location. So has anybody got any comments on the budgets, or are we on any specific line, should I say?
So just a question, really. The budget we've got in front of us here talks about a precept at the bottom line. This being a decrease, whereas the one you've got in the supplementary information talks about it being an increase.
Sorry, the one which came out in supporting papers, I noticed accidentally had a duplication of the loan repayments to the tune of £2,474.
Right.
We paid 2 instalments, totaling 473, but it was accidentally doubled. The overall total was doubled, if you see what I mean. So the latest one is with that deduction. And a small alteration on the caretakers. So I think the caretakers on the one which came round was for 2,000. On reviewing it and the fact that we paid a liability insurance for the caretaker, who is a contractor, not an employee. We reduced it a little bit. Any other line questions?
Not a line.
Right, okay, can I? So if we accept the proposed precept, which will work out at £74,183, it will represent a payment on band D council tax associated to Fairlight Parish Council of £79.44 per year, or £1.41 per week, representing a 3.33 decrease on last year. It's very small because last year's was 74,867. Then this is slightly lower.
I've just got a question about 4140 subscriptions and membership fees, because obviously I wasn't here last month.
Sorry, 4140.
Yeah, subscriptions and membership fees. Is that a precise amount? Because
Not to the penny.
Right. Because going to the Grout meeting last week, it was fairly clear that they are going to be increasing their fees, and probably quite significantly.
Oh, it was I think it was rounding up, but it is pretty much. I think they're about round £37 at the moment annually, so if they increase it.
So they're talking about increasing their admin hours from 5 hours a month, and possibly even more to get us through to this local government reform.
Or resources?
Rout, yeah, because in Sussex aren't
We
quite as
can
far ahead as Rout.
We can increase the subscription fees if you think that we need to.
My personal feeling is it won't be that much to make a major dent on
I
budget.
agree.
And I think it's fair to say, as we know, it's going to be an increase of 10% on the budget. It's not all worth over 1%. Anybody else got any?
So where does it say? Did you say 441?
4140.
On the subscription and membership fees, it's 800.
Yeah. So I was trying to work out whether that was like because it's gone down from the current year end.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And then
that's
it was cutting it too tight.
That's because I put other I put other things in there against the subscriptions that I should have really put against the admin fees. So, let me just find where I put my admin.
Is that 4130 is the admin? It's gone up
Yes.
quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 4130 is same, reflected and up with movement.
Yeah.
130.
Yeah.
So I put Parish Online, the Microsoft Office one, and there was, I think I put I might have put the, I'm not sure if I put the SLCC membership under subscriptions when you would really put it
Oh,
under
so
admin. I don't think it makes a massive difference, but when I've worked it out this time, I've put those bits under admin and then just put the route now e-sell under subscriptions. So that's why it's more expensive this year, and it will go down next year.
Sorry.
I just want to get it clear in my own mind. The draft budget is an increase on the previous year's budget.
So the one which came out as supporting papers, if you printed from that, is the one which contained an error.
So the draft budget is how much? Is it the actual draft
The
budget?
precept or the total?
The precept.
The precept has come down to 74183.
It should
But the budget's
it should
7.9.
be on your table.
Yeah.
It's at the bottom, summarised on
Yeah,
page
but
2.
that's the 79's the total, that's with other.
That's total expenditure.
I put a new one on
Yeah,
the table.
before
Andrew.
income.
Oh, yeah, print, yeah.
Yeah,
I must be working with an old copy, sorry.
Do you want it? I've got
the only
another
major
one.
difference was that one contained the duplication of the
Yeah.
loan repayment.
Can I ask, there's some uncoded items here,
Yeah.
highlighted like trees and churchyards. And is that because they're new to this year's budget? Or?
Yes.
Because there wasn't we've got our tree inspection next year, and there wasn't a line for trees. There was only a line for Woodfield or Knollwood, and then obviously I thought it'd be easier if we had a tree line so that because there's a tree.
So you'll code it on the next one going forward?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was always just put in with Woodfield,
Yeah,
but it is actually a
Trees.
separate entity,
yeah,
so we're just trying to
that's
mark it
good.
up. With churchyard and the village hall, it was discussed in November, and it was noted that it's quite standard amongst other parishes to make some form of donation to the two biggest assets used by the majority of villages.
Makes sense.
Anything else? Can we have a show of hands to accept, please? Thank you. Carried. Oh, sorry, the only other thing I would add, to do with the, budget, is it was advertised, but with the corrections, since November, and we haven't had any comments from anyone in association with it. Right, financial matters, to receive a list of income and expenditures in November and December, you could have seen them. Yeah. Any questions? We've been in supporting papers, but I don't think.
Well, I read them.
Timber.
I thought we had printouts of these.
No.
No.
We've modernised onto the world of
I think
electronic.
there was like.
I should bring my laptop.
Pot for trees.
Yeah,
I did zip through.
There was quite a few,
Yeah.
but there was nothing outstanding there. I mean, the only two largish ones out of the norm was for the pathway 32 going from Woodland Way up to Knollwood.
I saw correspondence.
We're all happy to receive a list of items paid for the January. Any comments? We receive them. To approve the November and December's reconciliation. Yep. To agree to move 10,000 from Unity Trust savings to Unity Trust currency accounts. Again, it's just because we keep the vast majority of the reserve in a interest account and move over a lump sum to cover 2-3 months expenditures, whatever. To note the interest rates on Redwood savings is decreasing from 3.45 to 3.2. That is where the majority of our money is. But I don't think it would be small amount less, but not a huge amount to worry about. Okay, item 9. I can never remember what it stands for, SLCC, something.
We,
Council clerks. Sorry?
oh, sorry, go on.
It doesn't matter what it stands for. To agree to pay the clerk's SLCC subscription at a cost of 200, which was a 10%, but the clerk has since had to update that to £253 under delegated authorities to cover some costs of access to materials for a silver change.
Right, so the fee's gone up obviously because my salary's gone up, and I put it on here to get it approved, but I realised that I actually needed access to it, and because my membership hadn't been paid, I couldn't get onto the website, so I paid it before the meeting because I needed to get onto it for silver. So that's what happened.
Everyone okay with that? Sounds
Sounds plausible.
Yeah.
Sounds plausible.
Right, planning application. Planning application, this, the number,
Oh, yes, redeclare them.
yeah, okay. I don't think there's need for you to leave if you don't wish to.
I should.
So this is in connection with obviously the Wakeham's Farm application RR 2025-1462. To consider appointing a parish council representative to attend Fairlight Resident Association meetings in relation to the planning application. In fairness, it's a sort of Fairlight Resident Association steering group. Originally there was going to be a residential steering group set up by a gentleman called Lawrence Smith, who sadly passed away very soon after the application was put in, the reins of which have been taken up auspiciously under the bit of the wings of the Resident Association. I've just stopped standing orders for a second. Chris, is that basically fair in saying that? It's not really a Fairlight Residential Association initiative, but they have taken up the reins to do the steering group to help fight the application. There's been a couple of short meetings, but we're now to the point where it will take joint collaboration and we need a representative to go on to the steering group to speak for and on behalf of the parish council.
I understand you've been going in.
I've been to a couple of the meetings where I've attended in capacity as a personal capacity, just because of my experience and knowledge of the open situation. There hasn't been anything to date other than heavy discussions of water issues, which has really affected or involved council input. But from now on, it's likely to have some council input needed.
Well,
So I'm happy for
even
me
though
to
standing
continue
orders,
and
have been suspended, I will just
Sorry,
state that I will
reinstate
obviously recuse myself from such a position, obviously,
So
for
you
the
don't-
same reason that Andrew's left the room.
yeah.
I don't
So,
feel the need to leave the room, but obviously won't be
are other
doing
people
that.
happy for a representative of the council to go onto the steering group? David?
I'm happy for someone to be on there. I don't think it should be me.
No.
So I don't
No,
know.
No,
It won't be me.
I'm prepared to carry on.
Yeah.
Right, to authorise and appoint a representative to discuss a draft speech for the Rother District Council Planning Committee meetings with the FRA. Danielle and myself are in the process of finalising a speech. What we don't want is major duplications of a second speaker at the hearing, so we'll need to collaborate with this said steering group on the exact wordings of the speech. When we feel, when it's felt that the time's right to put it for agreement with all councillors, we'll do, and if needed by email, because it's still unknown of when the planning hearing will be. It won't be before February the 12th, that will be before our next meeting. So we're quite happy to share speech ideas with the steering group at present. Yeah. David?
Sorry,
Are you happy for me to share ideas of speech? Of
yeah,
future speech?
yeah.
Steering group, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Abstain.
Yeah, fine. Right, item 11, bench. Sorry.
I think you forgot. I didn't know that one.
Hotel first.
Right. I take full
They
responsibility.
were going to leave you
Yeah.
there, Andrew, and just carry on.
Cold baked.
Right, item 11, bench planks for St Peter's Church, new bench. To consider the following suggestion worded from the history group for the plaque for the bench at St Peter's. A new plaque or replacement of a new plaque would be the FPC Council reinstalled this seat in 2025. The plaque notes that Fairlight Youth Club made the seat in honour of the coronation on Her Majesty's Queen Elizabeth II on the 2nd of June 1953. It is slightly more than 6 months ago, I believe, when the original one was made after the replacement of the bench. I take full responsibility that we had one made which was worded to replace the replacement bench, which didn't really mean any reality, and the history group pointed it out to me, so we were just going to get another one made.
Can I point out the duplication? The FPC, the C is council and then it says
you're right,
council.
yeah.
But we haven't had it made quite yet, so we can correct that.
Also, FPC may not be, if that's something we do want to insist on, it's not necessarily known to everybody. It's not going to be obvious to people
The
just
problem
passing
is
by.
the amount we
Quite
can
long.
fit on the plaque.
Well, I would say, is it necessary for FPC to have reinstalled the seat? Because the plaque is about the Fairlight Youth Club and the Queen. Isn't that the pertinent?
The wording has come on the request of the Fairlight History Group.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fair enough to get their comments and use them.
Absolutely, there's a practical application though, isn't there, given the restricted size?
Would it help if the words, the plaque notes that, if those words came out?
That was exactly what I was thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to add anything, because the plaque's going to
And
be
actually
there.
put that first, and then it was reinstalled by
Yes.
SPC in 2025 afterwards.
So if we put Fairlight Youth Club made a seat on a,
Yeah.
And then the seat was reinstalled in 2025 by Fairlight Parish Council.
In full.
Shops around us then.
In
Yeah.
full.
Just for one of the original seat was actually produced by a local resident who's no longer with us, who done it on behalf of Fairlight Youth Club. Going back, so it's interesting that this village had a youth club in 1953.
sorry, can we just confirm what
Yes,
was right?
so-
Fairlight
so
Youth Club
sorry.
made a seat on
Can you
a,
just read what are we saying we want the wording?
I think it started with Fairlight Youth
Youth
Club
Club.
made a seat to honour the coronation of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on 2nd of June 1953.
Fairlight Parish Council
In full.
Reinstalled the seat
in 2025.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a reverse and an edit,
They're still the same words that they've got.
and we're taking out the acronyms and
Yeah.
using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
Can we
Fairlight,
just
Fairlight Parish Council installed this seat in 2025. Is that it?
yeah? Can we just make sure
Until the history.
CP? Okay, thank you. 12, to appoint an external body in groups following the council's regulation, East Sussex Association of Local Councils to agree a second representative who could speak and vote as they considered proper at meetings. It's currently only myself. I think it was Steve Stewart as well. So it's wise to have two. Public.
Volunteer myself if there's no other contenders.
Brilliant, thank you. 13, 13, no parking signs, Wakelands Junction, to agree the purchase of no parking signs on 1mm rigid plastic signs, measurements 200 by 300mm at a cost of £5.32 per side, equaling 49.68.
We can get signs.
All
that-
5. Okay, for 49.68.
You can
200
get
by
200 by
300
300 mil,
is
by
Yeah.
32 each. We can get 5 signs for 49.
I would go for the bigger signs, personally.
So we'll get 5. I thought you said you wanted 5 last time.
Yeah, I think we need about 5.
That's over a foot wide, isn't it? By nearly a foot high. They're quite big signs.
It's a little bit bigger than machines of fleet, like 3 it's called.
Yeah.
And the stakes don't need to be very high because there's a bank there.
I don't think they are very high. They're just little bits of wood that go on the ground. I think
Yeah.
they're not like big posts.
Quite happy, because it's either going to be probably myself or Dominic or both of us doing it, I'll scrap the stakes and just make some.
The stakes are too high.
So I order larger and 5 then.
5 of the larger ones, we're all agreed. 14, Woodfield picnic bench replacement, to agree and accept £500 donation from the FRA towards the cost of a replacement picnic bench. The clerk's found a suitable one from JT, who is the same company which has made the benches, new benches. There will be a 1.8 wheelchair accessible teak bench. That's not a picture you get.
Picture.
Yeah, picture wasn't. Hang on.
It's in the document.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't see it as a disabled bench. For those which aren't aware, a disabled bench has just got part of the bench seat missing, so a wheelchair can go in. The total cost would be £579.17 plus 33 delivery.
I haven't ordered the bench for Bastion Hill yet because I was waiting to see if
No.
we did this. I don't think we'll get charged delivery.
That's a normal bench, isn't it? The ones
That's
through the
Hill,
centre.
yeah.
Yeah. Have we actually agreed that? We haven't.
Yeah.
So we could order the 2 together and for it.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting to see.
If people are agreed, and the council will pay the remainder or anything above the 500. Yep. Sean agreed. We should go ahead and order the one at Battery Hill at the same time and. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Item 15, Battery Hill hedge. To consider any quotes from the contractors to cut back the hedge opposite the old post office. Not old post office, just call it the post office. On Battery Hill for a cost of £160.
Can I just say something about this?
Yeah,
quickly?
of course you can.
I think this. I don't think this is our responsibility. I think it might be highways. I did speak to them, and they said they're going to send someone out to have a look, but obviously they haven't done it before the meeting. And I know that Councillor Meyer obviously reported it to me, but I'm not sure it's not causing an obstruction, is it? Or is it?
No, there's some degree of interference with sight lines at the upper end of it. But the position is that we always traditionally did cut that back because it's the green area around the village sign, and there were daffodils and other bulbs planted there which have now been overgrown and overwhelmed. We always did cut it, and I simply don't see highways cutting it. They won't.
Too far back from the
It would
road.
be, if they did, it would be like, they said it would be low priority because it's not causing an obstruction, but it wasn't on the grass cutting schedule for the previous contractor, so I'm not sure if maybe.
This is why it's not so overgrown, I expect.
Yeah, but obviously if we don't do it now, I don't think it will get done until, if highways did do it, or I had to find out who the landowner was, I don't think it would get done until after bird nesting season, which obviously would be right at the end of the year, so.
Yeah. Okay. sorry, just suspend standing orders. Councillor Maynard,
Just to say that obviously if it's as Councillor Myra said, the reality is if it's more than a metre back, the county won't do it.
No.
It's as simple as that. So long as whoever's doing it has got the right insurances, which I'm sure you would check.
I think Chris had a point.
Sorry, Chair, it was in relation to item 14.
I'm sorry, I didn't say.
I did put my hand up, but you carried
Sorry,
on.
didn't see.
It's just an inquiry, really. Thank you very much for receiving our money from the bench. It's a disabled bench. Can I just inquire, is it going to go into an area of hard standing, or is it going to be just in the middle of the field, or on the edge of the field?
We were near enough, not legally obliged, we're near enough obliged now to replace a bench with disabled access where possible.
I don't think that was his question.
We realise that
I'm just worried
in
that-
weather like present, no one can use it.
If you're in a mobility scooter or a wheelchair or a frame, getting to it, if it's in just grass, would prove difficult.
It is going to be replaced on the grass, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it is a replacement for one which came off.
I'd hate there to be a fallout if,
No.
you know, if somebody tried to use it, couldn't get there, or got stuck there, and couldn't get away, and the Residents Association paid £500 towards it.
Well, we would make sure that the emphasis went back to the FRA.
Would you?
No, I mean, I think we could worry, put every scenario in place and worry about it, but I think in reality, not many people are going to go picnicking in this.
Fine.
You'd have to create a whole special path, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
To get around
there
that.
are benches that are on hard standing up there, and whenever it's
But the
going to
two in the
replace one of
front
those.
would be an issue then, wouldn't it?
I mean, the one on hard standing up there is a disabled access
Yeah.
bench.
Well, you've answered my question.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will.
We can't revert back to decide whether or not we revert back to item 14 from
The item was to agree the funding, so
Yeah, I mean, we have agreed. What, do you mean you don't
Well,
want it to be
specifically,
wheelchair
if we
accessible?
decide it doesn't need to be wheelchair accessible, can we just change?
No, because it would have been agreed at the meeting that it's a wheelchair accessible bench, but if you don't want it to be a wheelchair accessible bench, then I can put in the minutes that you don't want, but obviously everyone has to agree.
Okay, sorry about this, I will leave that open to people. Do we think?
Can you repeat the question?
Whether or not, going back to item 14, whether or not the replacement bench should be applicable for
Whether it should be a wheelchair accessible bench. It's next to the park.
Next to the swing park, the one which has been removed because it was dangerous was not a wheelchair accessible bench. I will say there is one wheelchair accessible bench on hard standing at the top of the fields, but
This is down the bottom.
the one down the bottom isn't it?
This bench that we're talking about here, this was right outside the
The
fence.
swing.
Yeah, right
outside
outside
the
the
swing
park,
park.
yeah.
It feels like a half measure then. If it's something you can't get to and come back from, the accessibility itself is not.
Sorry, I better reinstate orders.
If the accessibility is an issue, then having it in itself doesn't seem to be appropriate, and there is an alternative.
The field is perfectly usable by certainly an electric scooter or an electric wheelchair in ordinary dry conditions in which people would expect to be using the field.
Okay, so it's just a temporary part of the year that it wouldn't be accessible. Like now.
Now,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, but then it wouldn't be by anybody
No.
sensible.
No.
And if it's
I mean,
close to the swings, it would also be quite useful for people with buggies as well.
Yeah, I mean, my personal feeling is that it's not accessible all year round to a wheelchair user, but a wheelchair user is not going to be using a wheelchair over Woodfield in these conditions today.
No.
But in the summer when they would like to. picnic.
Yeah.
And as a wheelchair, pushchairs as well.
Well, in that case, it should remain the same then, probably.
So we'll keep it,
Yeah.
are we in agreement, we'll keep it
Yes.
to replace with a wheelchair accessible bench?
Yes.
Right, thank you. Got where it was now.
Number 15.
Daffodils and
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with Councillor Mears that we should just do it.
Yeah.
Everybody else got any?
well, the sign looks nice. The daffodils look gorgeous. It's part of the as you come down
It
to
is
the
a nice
bottom of the
little
hill.
sign.
It's a very attractive part of the entry into the village,
Yeah.
and the sign's great. I mean, we went to a lot of trouble to put that up, so we want that to
I
shine.
also think once it's cut down to I mean, it is only really ferns and bramble, there's not much there of substance, and I think once it's down a little bit, it can be upkept by
But that
normal
will-
regime.
Real problem there is just above it. It's just the bit just underneath Stonelink driveway.
Yes,
That is right out on that is over the curb and into the road.
right, okay,
So
I
it's-
can
obviously
report
behind the goods,
that.
yeah. But yes, so that was.
Yeah, I'll report that online again.
Because, you know, if the shop does reopen and you have parked cars on the other side, that's going to be
The bit which is.
a significant visibility problem.
Oh, right, okay, all right. Well, I think we're in agreement that if highways don't do anything, which they won't on the bit we're really concerned about, we'll do it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, item 16, March 2026 meeting to approve the slight rescheduling of the full council meeting to the Tuesday the 24th, 26th, from 24th, 26th. No, 20.
24th of March 26th.
Oh, yeah, sorry, to the 31st. I believe, Daniel's on holiday.
Yeah, I could only get a dog sitter for that week.
Does that push that right on top of the?
Sorry.
Does that mean we change every meeting for our holidays?
Yeah, the sun rotates
Yeah.
around
If
the
there's a
earth.
request, you don't have to
If
agree
you
it.
want to take on Daniel's job, then.
Yeah, that's going to push that right onto Easter week. Thank you very much.
See if I can get someone else to.
Sack of Mr.
We'll make
Christmas,
sure
thank
it's 2
you.
hours.
Would any member of the council like to do dog sitting during that week?
Right, compressor contribution. To agree whether the parish council wishes to make a financial contribution to Rother District Council for the pump replacement works, and if so, to agree the sum to be contributed. Can I just make a little statement, and then if there's anything wrong with it, if anybody knows anything different, can they please correct me? Right, the funding of 409,000 will be required for the pumps and related equipment to do the coastal defence scheme going down Rockmead Road. Cabinet members, this is Rother Cabinet members, have agreed to recommend to full council a proposed amendment to the capital programme. The new capital budget for the Fairlight Coastal Defence Scheme to be funded from £2,000 currently held in reserves,
200,000.
200,000 currently held in reserves for the scheme, which I think in reality is a bit less than that, with a balance provided by capital receipt or from the community infrastructure levy funds, all to be approved. The SIL panel have confirmed that this application would be applicable under SIL conditions. To date, we have only sent a letter of thanks and support without a financial commitment, which has been acknowledged by Rother. Can I suggest no, well, I'll leave it there for a minute. I don't know if anyone's got any comments or updates.
I mean, my immediate comment is that it is a matter for the district council, and the parish council already supports it with considerable sums on an annual basis for sharing the electricity and operating costs.
Right. Anything?
So I think anything that would be given would be so nominal as
Yes.
to be a waste of money when we consider grants that we can give to local groups, or improvements we can make, or more benches, or more disabled picnic benches, you know, so I think it's not a good use of money, we're already spending on it, and it's, Rother has undertaken, they have the Coastal Defence Organisation.
Could I just say that it was sort of fundamentally agreed that we would discuss figures of only about 7,500 maximum in the November meeting, and also at the 27th of January this month, we will know whether or not the full seal from the seal panel, or sometime after, we'll know whether the seal panel has agreed, in principle, to come up with the money.
I think it was a curious request, and I think it was done for reasons to make sure that it appeared that monies were being drawn from every source possible. But it's, in a practical sense, asking the parish council, it's fine to go from SIL, from reserves, from increased capital, but I don't think it's appropriate for the parish.
Thank you. Anybody else got any comments?
Well, I do see the point that Tim makes, but I would say that the fact that we have been paying towards the electricity, half the electricity for the pumping, and have also putting in voluntary labour, but specifically the amount that we put into the pump and the amount that we raised from the village in the past when the works were first done, £75,000 from this council, which was partly from reserves and partly from borrowing, which we're still paying back. The fact that we've done those things, which we were not legally obliged to do, has weighed very heavily with Rother when I have discussed this with officers and with cabinet members. It has stood us in good stead in relation to this particular issue, and also in relation to, say, Article 4. It helps enormously to show that we're not, as some people from the outside might say, a bunch of freeloaders expecting something for nothing, which is most unjust.
I would love to hear somebody level that at us.
Which would be most unjust, but you know, we have to persuade people who live over at Bexhill or beyond Bexhill who don't know the area, and I think it really has helped in the past. And although it's not essential on this occasion, I can see that going forward, it's another thing that we can say the next time that we are putting forward an argument. It would be very helpful.
Right, thank you. The only suggestion I was going to make is maybe leave it or return to this possibly in February, pending the outcome of all of the funding streams known, and to get because the reason I say that is because there are two members of the parish council which are also on Fairlight Preservation Trust, not here tonight, and it's nothing at the end of the day to stop us making a belated contribution.
And the funding was going to come from, not from this budget, from the...
It would need to come from general reserves, as far as I'm concerned. Just for the information, I did look back on if there was any underexpenditure from 7 years ago on preset money which has been put in for the pumps, and for one reason or another, there's a tiny bit of surplus over the 7-year period, but it's only tuned to about 1,200. I don't personally want it to be too late to put it on this year's preset now. I personally don't think it's right to put that amount on the precept when, at the end of the day, it could come from general reserves. I mean, anybody got any other thoughts? Or
only that on timing, the civil panel meets next week.
Next week, yeah.
A week today.
I think we've put quite enough money into the project. I mean, it's as much a concern of the district, whatever council, it's part of their coastline as well as ours.
that is similar to the way I view it. It's comes under coastal defence. Strictly speaking, we're not responsible.
And this is
for
without
but
treading. This is without treading into the question of maintenance.
It can be pointed out that
Back off.
coastal protection work is a discretionary service, as you referred. Councillor Maynard, discretionary services are under pressure.
But they have up the budget for them in coastal defence. Usually we'll propose it.
Well, I think we've made considerable progress with Rother in dealing with this issue, and I can't anticipate the outcome of next week's meeting, but I would like to come to the next meeting with a very positive story.
Okay, it's been quickly to spend standing orders. Councillor Maynard.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the opportunity to have an input into this, because obviously historically when I was leader of Rother, we absolutely supported Fairlight in Clifton Coastal Protection, but I do think that you need to quite clearly, I mean I would have expected to be there anyway, but quite clearly explain the narrative and the context in terms of Fairlight's contribution over the years. Clearly Rother has been very, very accommodating, whichever administration has been in control, both under myself and under the current administration. But I would be a little bit careful in terms of if you did make any contribution, only that any incoming unitary authority that would have that responsibility could potentially see that it would be an ongoing issue that they might want to see Fairlight take on. And I just think that the language, if you gave any contribution, needs to be very carefully worded. If it was a one-off, fine.
Yeah.
But I think you need to be very, very careful how that might be seen by a new officer at a county, at a unitary authority, who might think, well, hang on a minute, they've had quite a good deal from Rother District Council in the past, but actually we think they ought to pay a lot more. So I just think you need to be really careful around, if you're going to make a contribution, around the language.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point to bring up, because that was very much the substance of the meeting. Wasn't just the money, it was, and what are we doing going forward? How are you sticking this into the plan? This needs to be incorporated and recognised going forward. That was very much, and I have to say, the response from the officers, and the monitoring officer is sitting there with us. So it was handed over from the officer in charge, who subsequently retired, and they are taking it seriously, and I've no reason to doubt that they will continue to do so, which is another reason why I don't think we need to really do much more.
Anybody else got any comments? So are we saying tonight that we don't want to make a financial contribution, or we wish to defer possibly until the February meeting when at least our two council members on the Preservation Trust are present as well?
I would move for deferral, because you don't make a decision until you need to.
And say there's nothing stopping making a contribution. I mean, my only feeling, I've got two-headed feeling on it. One is I can see logic of making a gesture of a financial contribution, but it would only be a drop in the ocean to the overall expense.
Yeah.
And I take on Councillor Maynard's point that it has to be incredibly carefully worded, because we don't want to take on any more than paying 50% of the electricity going forward.
On a non-precedential basis.
Yeah. Well, all I can say, although I could prefer to get the job done tonight, I can see the advantages of postponing, because we are light on councillors tonight, and perhaps it's not fair to take this decision without a full array of councillors around the table.
I won't deny that's my gut feeling, excuse the expression, because we are talking public money, and I think we should all be near enough in full agreement.
Yes.
Okay, so we will leave that one for tonight and have an agenda item pending the outcome from Robert in February. Thank you. Okay, right. Policies and documents. I take it that everyone's read all of the policies and noted corrections which were highlighted in yellow. Yes?
Yep.
Has anyone got any comment on any particular policy or otherwise in the ideal world?
Is this the
can we accept
FOI
all
or
of
the,
them? Sorry?
is this the FOI ones or the
FOI.
freedom of information?
No, these are our,
There are policies.
they're our internal policies.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
We've just basically, I think Daniel and Ryan found saying we've just gone down most of the now templates, which is probably the safest thing to do, and just adapt them where needed if there's anything
Just
extra.
basically
It's all
reviewing,
been with
updating.
the supporting papers. There's very little changes because that's near enough what the Fairlight Parish Council has always done. And
There
any
was-
changes were highlighted in yellow. Nothing's struck out strange to me.
There's just a couple of small points. One was on the data protection risk assessment, and,
Yeah.
and it's more of, it talks about the risk assessment and mitigating measure having clerk and councillors trained on cyber security, and then there's a little bit about training us on GDPR.
Yeah, I've
just-
got dates for that. It's going to be on the February one to agree the cost. It's £40 per person
Okay.
for data protection training. So,
Just haven't been through these before. We've got that thing down, and we've never trained anybody.
No.
yeah, I've looked
I
into
just
it.
wanted to
It's
make
the
sure that was going to be
February
picked
one.
up.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're putting a mitigating measure that doesn't actually
Yeah,
address it. So,
Yeah.
okay.
thank you. Sorry.
And it's also next review date on there. It says January 26th. It should be January 27th. Just
Yeah.
What's that one for, sorry?
on the risk assessment,
Oh, okay, I'll change it.
and the same on the financial risk assessment update. You look at the whatever the column was. You know when you got likelihoods and impact. There's a whole load of typo bit in the middle there. You might want to drop out on page 56
Okay.
on the supplementary info. It looks like cut and paste. It's just cut and paste about 3 times.
What was that one, sorry?
On the financial risk assessment,
Right, okay. Oh, okay.
just when you read through it, just
Double check it.
look down that.
Cool, thank you.
It's all right.
Anyone, anything else? Right, so we'll accept all of those ones. B, to agree to withdraw the following. Tour policy, which is no longer relevant. The website policy, which has been superseded. Email equality, superseded. Internet usage, which has been superseded. Anti-bullying and harassment, superseded by the dignity of work policy. Everyone okay? Yeah. Thank you. Items for noting. Turn more page. Communication between East Sussex County Council and Fairlight Parish Council relating to the planning application 2025-1462/P, which is Wakeman's Farm. This is specific to East Sussex County Council, really, not Rother. We sent a letter up which was copied in with the supporting papers of little objections against East Sussex County Council's response to the Planning Commission, and I take it you've read their reply, which isn't an awful lot more than what I thought we'd get out of them.
Thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
Other than to say at least they agree it's not an ideal access route, but it's as much as we got. B, Council's response proposals for local council reorganisation consultation submitted 11th of January. It was agreed by councillors via email due to time restraints. Can I just highlight, which I'll do again in February for councillors which are missing tonight, it is important to respond to the clerk when something like this comes out in email, please, because we, still under some obligations to have the majority of a response before Daniel can really make a submittance or a response. one of them fell on, I think there was some comments on Rother's financial change, or whatever it was. We just couldn't make a response to it because there wasn't enough replies from councillors. C. Additional comments were submitted by Fairlight Parish Council on the 18th of December to Rother District Council regarding the planning application. Well, we all saw them and agreed them at a meeting back in, I think it was November. But they're now online. The Rother District Council Community Grant Scheme application unsuccessful. This was specific to try and replace and redo the ground area of the small junior climbing frame and slide at the park. We put in for grant funding that weren't successful, so we will have an agenda item for the replacement of such next meeting.
Did you get reasons why?
No, I think they basically just said how much that was applied for, insinuating it was a large amount. So I think they're basically saying that they just had too many applications and didn't have enough money to give out to everyone.
I think, in fairness, we have had we did have good grants from them only 2 years ago for swing replacement. So they might.
I just think it's really helpful. Traditionally, we've always given a follow-up. The officer team, we've always asked them to give a follow-up to any unsuccessful application, basically to say this doesn't meet the criteria, or please apply again next time. And I think that is essential. So you might want to follow up on that and get the follow up.
I think we were a little bit loose with the terms of criteria, meeting their criteria.
But we didn't have to give details yet because it was just the
Just interest. So,
I did check everything with them before I sent it off, and they said no, just send how much you think it's going to be, and then obviously more
so we
detailed
just
application would be necessary later on. So we did everything right. But
Well, we have just, so keep it. We have had 2 in recent years, actually.
right.
Of course, I mean, of course, this is the new system, isn't it, with the Sussex Community Foundation? Yeah, administering the fund. Yeah,
that's true. But you know, we'll discuss about the swing replacements, and if we feel we could grant apply to the next grant round, that's the way we may go. 19E, Fairlight Parish Council Action Plan update.
I did send it.
Should
I
have
sent
sent
it last day, so it's a bit
came
late.
out late.
Got round to it. But I'll upload
It's
it
just
to
an
the
update
website.
of what we've been doing, the action plan generally. I haven't got any comments myself. Anybody got any comments on the action plan?
I haven't seen it.
No, it's but like where we were with the benches
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things like
just
that.
an update.
Oh,
Item
that's
F.
names,
No. Item F. Christmas lights winners for 2025. I went out with Lee and Councillor Miller and Councillor Cook, and the winners have been notified, and a reward will go to a charity of their choice.
Can you disclose?
Yeah, I think they were numbers 31, the winner was number 31 on the road, and the runner-up was, I think, if I remember correctly, number 8. They did go out on Facebook at the time with pictures. 20, correspondence, any late correspondence taken at the meeting. An email was forwarded from Fairlight Residents Association from a resident regarding parking in the village. You've all seen the email, I take it.
Yeah, can you bring it up, because I can't.
Ooh,
I saw it.
Well, did everybody have seen it? On camera?
No, that's reserved. Oh, well, this is another one.
I think
It's here. Do you want I've got some here for a look.
I think it's fair to say it ended up.
That was it.
There's that.
Yeah. Oh, that was, yeah, the one. That was it, I've got the honour.
I
There's not a lot we can do about that.
There's not a lot we can do, it's not illegal, but it has caused a lot of problems. I shouldn't say problems, but no, I think it's with people at the top, people parking towards the top of Waits Lane. And two weeks ago, we also had a trench line flatbed lorry which decided to park in the bus stop all night opposite. And I can assure you the beeping went on to 2 AM.
Yeah.
It is a problem. What we can do as a parish council is very limited, other than putting polite notices on windows,
Yeah.
which in the past
And it's not,
haven't gone down.
it's not just parking on the pavement, because I'm in and out of the car on business all the time. I won't say yes, yeah, you cannot see to get out of that,
Way.
out of the code,
Under the
out of
code,
the
yeah,
public
that's-
house. Yeah. You're just looking up the road into
Yeah.
the wall. If there's a van there, you're going out blind. You're just hoping that there's a car coming up the road.
You mean the hairdresser and the
Yeah,
estate
yeah,
agents or
yeah.
But
Yeah, you're hoping that there's a car coming up and that they're blocking the oncoming traffic coming down.
But
It's
they're
the only way you can
parked
see.
on the road though.
They are parked on the
But
road.
this
Yeah,
issue's
they are
about
parked
parking
legally on the road, but
pavements,
it is completely obstructing visibility.
Yeah,
And if you get a bus out of
But
it,
if
that
you
is
come out
absolute
of
carnage.
Low Waits Lane, it's the same when you
Yeah.
come round. You just
Yeah.
have to do it
I
skillfully.
mean, it's,
You know,
it's
Yeah,
just, you know,
You just
parking,
hope, to be fair.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
there's a degree of
Be
hope.
patient. And
Well, yeah, or hope the car comes the other way to
parking in the village comes up time and time again. I'm quite happy to try and do some, let's call it carefully targeted leaflets. You can't go putting it on everyone parked on the street, even though it's an inconvenience because you're pulling out of a certain junction or a pub or whatever. But I think maybe when it's, you know, on the curb, you might do a polite reminder one. But I said to somebody the other day when I was trying to find out what it was about, last time I'd done them, they found out it was me, and I got some very interesting stuff back through my own letterbox with some very chosen words on it. A few years back.
And the bigger problem is also the buses obviously pass in there as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it is a closed off village and it does require careful driving, doesn't it?
Mm.
You know, and
Is
there
it-
is a little bit of, you know, moving around and chicanery.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
I was going to say, I'd like to go on record and say, insofar as he's talking about parking on the pavement or parking on verges, I completely agree with the resident who's written in.
So, yeah.
And this has been a problem over, well, decades, I think in my time in the village, and I know that we've taken it up before. I think it may be under the East Sussex County Council Act, there is a power to prevent parking on verges and pavement, and sometimes you see official signs to that effect in other places. But I think when we tried that before, the answer always came back, but who's going to enforce it?
Yeah, yeah.
Now it might be that enforcement has moved on, there might be civil enforcement, it might be easier to levy fixed fines and so on. It's always worth asking, it's always worth raising it again.
Okay, we can do that. And we'll see, also see if the local community officers can guide us in any direction as well.
I mean, this letter hasn't gone out on the FRA email, has it?
No.
No.
No, because that would possibly be the most effective way, because it could go out, as it has done here, anonymously on the email, and
Well, it
they're
can
not,
do.
they're,
I mean,
you know,
we
that
can do
particular person.
Yeah.
So
Well, I say parking, yeah, and
Yeah.
parking has just always been, you know, the back to the council is, but it just comes up time and time again. But if it's a problem, I think it is at the present time, it has been quite persistent now for some time. Perhaps we could, let's say, try and explore any avenue, but we as a parish council haven't got really any power.
Yeah.
And I think to do much about it. Sorry, just suspend saying orders very quickly, the time's knocking on, Chris.
Thank you, Chair. No, it's just to bring Councillor Whiteman up to speed. We actually received the email. We didn't think it was appropriate for the FRA to deal with it, which is why we sent it to you. It's not something we would like to put out on our email scheme. We just appeal to Parish Council. Is there a way that you could do it? And I think the Chair's suggestion of a politely worded notice just saying, please do not park on the verge. It's difficult for wheelchairs to get past and people with mobility issues. In fact, you're not really helping the traffic because people still got to swing that past.
Yeah.
Something short and concise. So
if we put it on the email rather than...
well, no, I think what we want you to do is just do the physical act
Of putting a
and potentially write to the originator of the email telling them what it is you're going to do. We've kind of said we won't do anything with it, but we'll pass it to the Parish Council on your behalf. And I think they're probably expecting a response.
You have done that, but we don't know the author of the letter.
We can send you that.
Okay, put it through, Daniel, please.
We'll do.
Just bear with me one minute. So, Ian, Andrew, will take it very quickly, please.
Just very quickly, like what Councillor Meir said about legislation about parking half on, half off. I think there's also legislation as well in the highway code and that you shouldn't be parking within 30 feet of a junction. Now today I came up Waits Lane. I don't know if there was something going on here at the village hall. I had to wait or slow right down and that to make sure nothing was coming down the hill as I was going back home again. There was a white car parked at the very top, actually on the bend. I wasn't sure whether he was actually parked there and that, or he was going to get a cab to the curb because he was that far off of it. So it's dangerous going round there, especially with we get double deckers come in the village, don't we? So, and parking, some people as well park in the direction, not in the direction of the traffic. And I think that is more legislation than that you have to park in the flow of the traffic on a bus route.
Well, we've got to be careful here with the difference between legislation and highway codes.
Well, I think it's laws. When I passed my test and that, no parking within 30 feet of a junction and that, and traffic had to be parked in the direction of flow on a bus route. And I don't think that's changed.
Sure. But yeah, I'm quite happy for the council to do a selective leaflets drop on cars again. I'm not even undertaking myself, but I'm not always in the village, please. But I do think we've got to be very careful because we don't want to upset people.
Chair, is it possible just to have a sign posted and that, maybe in the village hall and that, have you parked considerately? Ask the question, and maybe people would look at it and actually ask the question of themselves.
But it's one sign.
Well,
maybe
maybe one in here.
somebody will probably park in front of and nobody will be able to see.
Yeah, but we've got this. We've got the notice board outside. There's the main notice board at the car park and that. People do read them, don't they? And perhaps just a polite ask the question. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Do we know the cause of it? Because I know some of it would be the Cove on a Sunday lunchtime doing really gangbusters business. That spills it out. But what about the other ones? I mean, is it workmen coming to jobs? Is it? Do we know roughly what it is? Is it repeat
Too many
offenders?
cars at one household without adequate parking space for it, basically.
And so
But as I say, different problems appear at different times of the year. I mean, Channel Way and Shepherd's Way becomes a problem in high season because of walkers. The bottom of Broadway becomes a problem every now and again because guys will go down fishing. It moves. Plus, part of me says we've got to be seen to be doing something, but part of me says I don't personally want leaflets being posted through my letter.
And big signs everywhere. And
So I think signs. I think we could go.
We're putting the signs up on the corner here, aren't we? Anyway, to try and put up a bit on that corner. So that's something.
But I think we could consider parking signs elsewhere.
Just awareness signs. I think that's a good suggestion.
Okay, can we look into that then?
Could we put a bit on the website as well or something like that?
I think individually targeting people is, personally, I don't think that you should be.
I'm a bit anxious because it becomes almost
subjective.
Yeah, yeah. And it depends on whether you're around or not, whether you catch something. I don't think that's where it should be.
Yeah.
I think awareness signs.
So looking at whether signs can be erected on the verges, asking people to park considerately.
Yes, yeah, and
here,
And then I'll come back.
big one on the outside of the bus stop at Whitestone.
I think reminders are good and that, because people tend to do it all the time, and unless they're reminded, they think it's normal practice.
Okay, and I can check Lisa more and might be help us out here as well, a bit of advertising. Just suspend animals very quickly, Carl.
Be very, very quick.
Alright.
Daniel, you just statement I was going to say. What you might like to consider is next for the parking review, actually ask WL Lines.
Sorry?
Ask for WL Lines at the end of the junction.
No, thank you.
Contentious, I think we've been refused before, haven't we?
Did
Because it puts
we
a
sort of mention that at the last walk around?
yeah, I've heard something about it's all or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you could put it into the, you could still submit it to the Rother parking review.
Okay.
But again, the enforcement is generally focused around schools where the consistent problem is across Rother, and there are fines put on vehicles which are on zigzags, etc.
Okay.
But you could do that.
I think there's talking government now, isn't there? I think this week about no parking around schools.
Just a technicality, we're going to reinstate standing orders. Let's have a small agenda item next February about it, because this is correspondence and not an agenda item, and we'll make a decision and get some, ideas in place. Okay, thank you. There's one other late correspondence you should have received this afternoon from a resident to do with the CSO spillages. I think it's just been very informative and brought us up to date on preliminary reports for CSO spills with an explanation to councillors, and it's been public on Facebook. The whole picture is quite involved and takes some understanding to absorb if you're not aware of all the implications. With the dye testing going on at the moment throughout the highway drainage network and some sewers, it will be interesting to know what the connection is with the evidence that we're slowly receiving more and more of, because it is the first thing which appeared to me from this correspondence is the increase in the CSO spills in a very dry year. So there's nothing we can do tonight about it, but I do think the parish council will have to be kept very much abreast of it, especially how it could possibly, affect Fairlight in future years with increased housing and whatever else. Has anybody got any comments from that communication you want to cover tonight? No?
No.
Okay.
Just a thank you.
Yes, thank you. Very informative. Right, items to consider for future agendas.
Did you mention about the road closure?
It was, again, I noticed it has been out on Facebook. We'll do notices through the FRA. There has been advised of resurfacing on the A259 in both directions between Ryan and Hastings from Tuesday the 20th until Friday the 23rd of January between 8 PM and 5 AM. And the official diversion will be the A21, A28 and Broadway. That's it really. See if it happens. Last time they said they were going to do it, it didn't happen. So. Okay. Anybody got any items other than what we've mentioned tonight for the next agenda? I'll just suspend standing orders very quickly. Sorry, Maggie.
Very quick, two very quick issues. Can I ask a question? It's pertaining to accessibility of the Rother planning site. are the parish council able to put in suggestions to Rother? Because it's been running for quite a while now.
The new
It's
site and
absolutely,
the unusuality of it.
it's unbelievably difficult to negotiate, and
Yeah.
before at least you had columns within it in order to, you could pick out a reference for a particular application using the identifying number, but you can't even do that
No,
now,
I
so
know.
it means you have to download stuff all the time. Now, I came up with some suggestions when it first came out, but I was told it was too close, you know, and obviously things would be ironed out. They haven't been, and I just wondered whether it would be appropriate for the parish to put forward some suggestions to Rother with regard to accessibility, because it can't be easy for parish councillors either, I'm sure,
No,
to
no,
access
no problem.
the thing.
Okay.
And the other quick thing was about trees. I did report a tree that was in a dangerous position close to Pet Level Road, quite close to the highway, and it was reported somebody came out to it. It was left, and it fell into the road. I've just wondered what the process is for that, you know, in terms of trying to get somebody, you know, who decides not to do anything and then it come down. You know what I mean? It was a bit disconcerting.
Did you report it online?
I reported the fact that it needed urgent attention, but my son's a tree surgeon, so he ended up having to pull it out of the road and deal with it. But that's not ideal, because obviously that
No.
you know, insurance-wise, that's not really how it should be done. You know.
No. But what I'm asking, sorry, Maggie, what I'm asking, did you actually report that through the online system?
Yes.
And so did you?
I think a councillor member also put in about it, because I tried to get somebody to come out. It had been sprayed with pink, whatever that donation means, I'm not entirely sure. And half of the tree had been sawed, so it was swaying in the wind. I'm not quite sure what had happened, but it came down, luckily not on a car, but quite close.
Can you send me through the report number?
I'll
please?
try and do that, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll try and
and
find it. It was
I'll
quite some
take that
time ago
on.
now.
Yeah, I do remember you mentioning it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, reinstate standing orders. Do we know if there's any advance on the planning website, or are we still teething problem stage?
It was something I was thinking of taking up myself, to be absolutely honest, before I came in here tonight.
Yes, please.
I've been working on it and found it very, very difficult.
It's frustrating.
Well, it's having to download and not just be able to open documents as a particular function.
And I'll leave it with our two other councillors, please. I don't want to. I think the agenda for February is we're in building.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's little as we can do as parish council other than support to other councillors to investigate further. Anything else for next meeting from anyone? Okay, date of future meeting will be the 24th of February 26. The council will now consider resolutions going into a private session on grounds of the following business: the accolades and the tennis club lease. So are we all happy to go into a closed session?
Yep.
Thank you very much.